I think about all the young people whose lives are influenced by what they see and hear on television. What a valuable gift it can be when they find something that clicks with whatever it is that's healthy inside of them. It's such a crucial job for us to offer images of what's possible in this life. Programs that show how all kinds of people live and work and express themselves, not in empty hopelessness, but in healthy, fulfilling ways. If people can look at television and get the message that no matter who we are, we can make a positive difference in this life.
In Boston, they prefer Fred Rogers to Superman, I Spy, Batman, Thunderbird, even Perry Mason and Merv Griffin. Mr. Rogers' estimated 99,600 homes with kids 2 to 11 represents a third of that audience. The show reaches an estimated 113,000 homes for an overall rating of 4 and a share of 10. Mr. Rogers is produced by Pittsburgh WQED-TV. Now, Mr. Rogers is certainly one of the best things that's ever happened to public television, and his Peabody Award is testament to that fact. We in public television are proud of Fred Rogers, and I'm proud to present Mr. Rogers to you now. Fred.
All right, Rogers, you got the floor.
Senator Pastore, this is a philosophical statement and would take about 10 minutes to read, so I'll not do that. One of the first things that a child learns in a healthy family is trust, and I trust what you have said that you will read this. It's very important to me. I care deeply about children. My first children...
Will it make you happy if you read it?
I'd just like to talk about it, if it's all right.
Sir. Okay.
My first children's program was on WQED 15 years ago, and its budget was $30. Now, with the help of the Sears Roebuck Foundation and National Educational Television, as well as all of the affiliated stations, each station pays to show our program. It's a unique kind of funding in educational television. With this help, now our program has a budget of $6,000. It may sound like quite a difference, but $6,000 pays for less than 2 minutes of cartoons, 2 minutes of animated, what I sometimes say, bombardment. I'm very much concerned, as I know you are, about what's being delivered to our children in this country. And I've worked in the field of child development for 6 years now, trying to understand the inner needs of children. We deal with such things as the inner drama of childhood. We don't have to bop somebody over the head to make him, to make drama on the screen. We deal with such things as getting a haircut, or the feelings about brothers and sisters, and the kind of anger that arises in simple family situations. And we speak to it constructively.
How long a program is it?
It's a half hour every day. Most channels schedule it in the noontime as well as in the evening. WETA here has scheduled it in the late afternoon.
Could we get a copy of this so that we can see it? Maybe not today, but I'd like to see the program.
I'd like very much for you
I'd like to see the program itself, or any one of them, you see.
We made 100 programs for EEN, the Eastern Educational Network, and then when the money ran out, people in Boston and Pittsburgh and Chicago all came to the fore and said, we've got to have more of this neighborhood expression of care. And this is what I give. I give an expression of care every day to each child to help him realize that he is unique. I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are. And I feel that if we in public television can only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable, we will have done a great service for mental health. I think that it's much more dramatic that two men could be working out their feelings of anger. Much more dramatic than showing something of gunfire. I'm constantly concerned about what our children are seeing. And for 15 years, I have tried in this country and Canada to present what I feel is a meaningful expression of care.
Do you narrate it?
I'm the host, yes, and I do all the puppets, and I write all the music, and I write all the scripts.
Well, I'm supposed to be a pretty tough guy, and this is the first time I've had goosebumps for the last 2 days.
Well, I'm grateful not only for your goosebumps, but for your interest in our kind of communication. Could I tell you the words of one of the songs which I feel is very important?
Yes.
This has to do with that good feeling of control, which I feel that the children need to know is there. And it starts out, what do you do with the mad that you feel? And that first line came straight from a child. I work with children, doing puppets in very personal communication with small groups. What do you do with the mad that you feel? When you feel so mad you could bite. When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong, and nothing you do seems very right. What do you do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up friends for a game of tag or see how fast you go? It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think this song. I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish, can stop, stop, stop anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this and know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a lady, and a boy can be someday a man.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
Next, Fred Rogers, host of children's program Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Yesterday, at an American University discussion, Mr. Rogers talked about the future of children's programs on public television. His remarks run about 10 minutes. We will hear first from Sanford Unger, Dean of the School of Communications.
Good afternoon. I'm Sanford Unger, Dean of the School of Communication here at American University, and I want to welcome you all to our campus and to the home of WAMU-FM. We have an unannounced warm-up act today who will be familiar to all of you, I think, and fondly familiar, and that is Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers. He hardly needs an introduction, but let me say that Fred Rogers has been doing children's television since 1954, since some of us were children indeed. And he has been on PBS for 27 years. He is, I think most of us would agree, a man who knows a lot about ethical values. He is as all-American as they come. And it's my pleasure today to welcome him back to the American University campus, where he spoke 5 years ago in this same room, and to remind him that he's always welcome in our neighborhood. Fred?
Beautiful day in your neighborhood. Maybe we could sing that together. I've never been much of an act, let alone warm up, but maybe you'd help me. Could we sing? It's a beautiful day in this neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? It's a neighborly day in this beauty wood, a neighborly day for a beauty. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? I have always wanted to have a neighbor just like you. I've always wanted to live in a neighborhood with you. So let's make the most of this beautiful day. Since we're together, we might as well say, would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my neighbor? Good for you. Good for you. We don't have very long before the Vice President comes, and he has a very tight schedule. But when he called me yesterday and asked if I would be with you, I got a few pieces of paper and put down a few thoughts that I'd just like to share with you. The best of any form of communication starts out being a gift. Gutenberg wanted to offer the gift of the Bible to people who would have never had a chance to read it. The pioneers of Marconi's radio wanted to give the gift of classical music to those who wouldn't have had a chance to go to a concert hall, maybe ever. I think about all the young people whose lives are influenced by what they see and hear on television. What a valuable gift it can be when they find something that clicks with whatever it is that's healthy inside of them. It's such a crucial job for us to offer images of what's possible in this life. Programs that show how all kinds of people live and work and express themselves, not in empty hopelessness, but in healthy, fulfilling ways. If people can look at television and get the message that no matter who we are, we can make a positive difference in this life, then our work as television producers will have been worthwhile. What is it that you love to do? Just think about what is it that you love to do? Is there dance, writing, welding, sculpting, knitting? What is it that you really love to do? If you would do that in front of the children that you know, that's one of the greatest gifts you can give them. Just passionately give them what you love to do inside. In the last little while, I've been giving a gift myself to people that I've talked with. And it may seem strange, but it's a gift of silence. I like to ask that you think of somebody or somebodies who have made a real difference in your life. People who have loved you all along the way and have helped you to become who you are today. We don't just get to be the human beings that we are without investment in a lot of other people. And I'd love to give you 1 minute of silence in this very busy day to think about who might have been important to you as you were growing up. I'll watch the clock. Whoever it is that you've been thinking about, imagine how proud they would be to know that you've thought of the difference that they made in your becoming. This is Vice President Gore's book, and I read one phrase in here that I just wanted to read to you. It says, "One focuses on being fruitful for the future." It shows a lot of hope when somebody will plant a seed and know that the tree won't be there until his or her grandchildren are grown. I thank you all for such a warm welcome. You've obviously been able to use the kind of television that we've produced through the years. And I go home to that neighborhood hearing you singing and seeing your faces. Thank you.
Today's guest is the star of the longest-running children's program on PBS. In this city, where the law of large numbers frequently prevails, Fred Rogers is a man who has made his share of records. At the same time, he represents for almost 2 generations of young people the one continuous voice who told them individually, "I know I like you just the way you are." He is known as the quietest man on television, but his presence is spiritual. Indeed, he gave up his lunch hour for 7 years to study for the Presbyterian ministry. He was ordained in 1962. Fred Rogers was born in 1928 in Latrobe, Pennsylvania, a small town east of Pittsburgh, where Arnold Palmer and Rolling Rock Beer also got their start. After graduating from Rollins College in Winter Park, Florida in 1951, where he studied musical composition, he married his classmate, Joanne Bird. He first considered entering the seminary after college, but after seeing one TV show, he decided that television was so bad he wanted to try and improve it. He worked his way up at NBC in Manhattan to being floor director for Kate Smith's show and at the NBC Opera Theater. In 1953, he he moved back to Pittsburgh to help organize WQED, the nation's first community-based educational television station. And it was there that he and Josie Carey put together the Children's Corner, which was the forerunner of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. About 300 stations now carry Mr. Rogers into 7 million homes each day. The show consistently ranks among the top PBS programs. It has won every kind of children's television award, including Emmys, for Mr. Rogers as a performer and writer. He has recently been honored for 35 years of children's television with a 1-hour PBS special. Now join me in welcoming Mr. Rogers to our neighborhood.
Well, thank you very much. It's a treat to be with so many good friends. It seems like 35 years has gone very quickly. There are times when it didn't seem that it went that quickly. But hearing all that it has meant to people, and that's what's so wonderfully satisfying about this work, to have people come up and say to you, do you know what it's meant to us in our lives to be able to visit with you? Well, it's really marvelous. And I'd like to say good afternoon, and I'd like to say guten Tag. Is that right? Is that what? And you taught me to say wie heißt du? Was that what you taught me? Could I ask you, wie heißt du? Could you tell me? Yeah. Could you tell me what your names are? Those of you who are from Germany? Yeah, all together. It sounds like a very nice song when everyone says his or her name together. Would you do it? Wie heißt du? Very good, thank you. And what is your name? Please. All together? Okay, thank you. I'm going to show the children some puppets after we have this adult speech. But right now, this is something that I have prepared for the grown-ups. There are many reasons I feel special about being in Washington. For one, my great-grandmother lived here, and I remember the first 10 years of my life visiting her, 4 generations together. She taught me to like cooked spinach. In fact, I had some this morning and I thought of her. She says, all you have to do is doctor it up a little bit. You'll see. And she taught me to take a long time to drink a glass of milk. One of her granddaughters is here today. Do you remember that? She said, take a long time to drink a glass of milk. Nana Given. It doesn't sit well if you swill it down, she said. And she was healthy, living proof of what she taught. She never discussed her age. If anybody ever asked her how old she would say 68. She said that even when her own daughter was 68. But the records showed that she lived to be over 100, and I know for a fact that she was reading the daily newspaper without her glasses the day before she died. That was 50 years ago. Nevertheless, you know feelings about places, as well as feelings about practically everything else, get started long ago in each of our lives. Anyway, the excitement of visiting an interesting great-grandmother certainly spilled over into all the times I've come to Washington in my adult life. I remember when I was in my 30s, and I was invited to come here and testify before Senator Pastore and his committee requesting government support for the fledgling educational television stations, John Pastore. I was scared. By the time it came for me to speak, it was late in the day, and I could tell that the whole committee, including Senator Pastore, had already heard enough from those who had testified before me. So even though I had a prepared statement, I set it aside and told our story as quickly as I could. I'd like you to see the last couple minutes of that Washington occasion.
Only make it clear that feelings are mentionable and manageable. We will have done a great service for mental health. I think that it's much more dramatic that two men could be working out their feelings of anger. Much more dramatic than showing something of gunfire. I'm constantly concerned about what our children are seeing. And for 15 years, I have tried in this country and Canada to present what I feel is a meaningful expression of care.
Do you narrate it?
I'm the host, yes, and I do all the puppets, and I write all the music, and I write all the scripts.
Well, I'm supposed to be a pretty tough guy, and this is the first time I've had goosebumps for the last 2 days.
Well, I'm grateful not only for your goosebumps, but for your interest in our kind of communication. Could I tell you the words of one of the songs which I feel is very important?
Yes.
This has to do with that good feeling of control, which I feel that the children need to know is there. And it starts out, what do you do with the mad that you feel? And that first line came straight from a child. I work with children, doing puppets in very personal communication with small groups. What do you do with the mad that you feel? When you feel so mad you could bite. When the whole wide world seems oh so wrong, and nothing you do seems very right. What do you do? Do you punch a bag? Do you pound some clay or some dough? Do you round up friends for a game of tag or see how fast you go? It's great to be able to stop when you've planned a thing that's wrong and be able to do something else instead and think this song. I can stop when I want to, can stop when I wish, can stop, stop, stop anytime. And what a good feeling to feel like this and know that the feeling is really mine. Know that there's something deep inside that helps us become what we can. For a girl can be someday a lady, and a boy can be someday a man.
I think it's wonderful. I think it's wonderful. Looks like you just earned the $20 million.
It was a mighty special time. And that is a good feeling when you feel that you are in control of what's going on inside of you. I talked with a group of students from American University yesterday, and they're just near the end of their adolescence. And they know what it's like to have all of that turmoil going on inside of them. And they responded so lovingly to those of us who supported them by saying, congratulations on who you are becoming, because you are getting control of what's inside of you, and that is a good feeling. Well, after that day, Senator Pastore and I corresponded for years, and I learned a lot from him. His father had died when John was a teenager, and John had to go to work to help sustain his mother and his younger siblings. He had always wanted to be a medical doctor, But he realized that he couldn't do that by going to night school. But he could study law at night and work all day, and so he did. He put himself through college and law school and helped the rest of his family as well. But his love for medicine didn't fade away. John Pastore got married and had 3 children and became the senator from Rhode Island for many years. His 3 children grew up. One became a doctor, one became a nurse, and the 3rd one married a doctor. All kinds of attitudes flow from generation to generation. I remember years ago coming to the White House to watch Lyndon Johnson sign the Act for Public Television. In fact, I understand that there's a 25th reunion of everyone who worked at that administration going on in Washington today. Of course, we've come to Washington to tape scenes for the neighborhood. We've taped at the zoo and the place where people make postage stamps. And we've presented one of my zipper sweaters to the Smithsonian Institution. And not too long ago, we were invited to the Soviet embassy to celebrate the first exchange between Soviet and American children's television programs. I had gone to Moscow to be on Tatiana Vedeneva's Spokone Nochi Malachi program, and she had come here. She had just arrived here, as a matter of fact, to be on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. At the embassy, we showed some of the Moscow studio visit, and I'd like you to see a few minutes of that now.
Вот это наша студия.
Very much like the place we make our television.
Это может быть очень похоже на нашу студию, где мы делаем передачу. Господин Роджерс, у нас есть рояль. Хотите поиграть?
Of course I would. I love to touch a piano wherever I go.
Спасибо.
My neighbor, and that's the song that we sing at the beginning of our
Вот здесь мы начинаем всегда нашу программу.
That's where you start yours.
Когда вы будете участвовать в нашей передаче, вы будете сидеть здесь.
Okay.
Это глобус, Америка, здесь Москва.
Moscow.
Господин Роджерс, хотите посмотреть наших кукол?
Puppets. Oh, yeah. Куклы.
Познакомьтесь, пожалуйста, Галя, актриса. Господин Роджерс.
Oh, and a lovely puppet you are. Would you like to meet a puppet from our neighborhood? There's a puppet whose name is Daniel, and he's very shy.
He's shy, I think. Oh, you're such a big kid. Oh, shy.
I think it was Felicity who called that puppet détente. There were many people at the Russian embassy the day we visited, many children as well as adults. And one of the newspaper people told me that such crowds in there were practically unheard of. Nevertheless, the ambassador and his wife seemed very relaxed and having quite a good time. On the other hand, I was being pulled in all directions. People were asking Tatiana and me all kinds of questions. This was just before that great openness in the Soviet Union. Of course, I didn't know that such a major revolution was about to begin. Well, one reason I tell you all of this is that there was a columnist from a large newspaper who obviously had tried to get more of my time than I was able to give. I was so caught up in the interaction with our Soviet counterparts that this columnist misinterpreted my involvement, and as he wrote about that day, he called the whole affair a photo opportunity. When I read the clipping that someone sent me, I was reminded again that the basis of any healthy communication is listening, as well as having the time to be able to be yourself. Reporters have jobs to do, to get their stories to their papers on time. But reporters aren't machines. They're human beings who have their own inner stories. In fact, every story that they report is filtered through their own life experience, no matter how objective they may be. And that's good. It's good that communicators are not machines. I still wish that I hadn't been so distracted that day and had been able to be more aware of the needs of that columnist, more present to his moment. Not so much because of what he wrote, but because as the years go on, I want to be the best possible listener I can be. I want to be as far removed from being a machine as possible. Well, television's a machine, but those of us who appear on it must not be. As adroit as some television hosts and hostesses are at welcoming, interviewing, and saying goodbye to a guest in 3 minutes or less, I lament what existentially is communicated during such an interview. Whether we mass communicators intend it or not, we provide models for other people's communications. Picture and sound bites are not what I've ever wanted to communicate to anybody. There's nothing more fascinating for a human being to witness than the unfolding of a relationship between two persons. When that can happen in real life, or in any kind of dramatic representation, it's very natural for us to be interested. Do you know why? Do you know why a 2-year-old is fascinated with mud or water play? Do you know why a 5-year-old might want to build a tall block building or act like a bride in a pretend wedding? I believe it's the same reason you and I are fascinated with the drama of two people developing a relationship. It's that at different ages, we human beings are working on different life tasks. 2-year-olds are working on control of their body fluids. 5-year-olds are working on some understanding of what it means to be a boy or a girl, of what daddies are like, what mummies are like. And in our adult years, we are working on how to be in relationship to those around us. So, listening and trying to understand the needs of those we would communicate with seems to me to be the essential prerequisite of any real communication. And we might as well aim for real communication. One more association about Washington, D.C. Over 10 years ago, a mother and a father and a 5-year-old boy were sitting quite close to me as I had breakfast at that Howard Johnson's across from the Watergate. They smiled and waved, and I smiled and said, "Are you some of our television neighbors?" When they nodded, I went over to their table to meet them. Well, that was the beginning of a long relationship. That little boy, Jeff Erlinger, had multiple handicaps, but not a lack of confidence. Mr. and Mrs. Erlinger had obviously treated him with such affection and respect that he radiated his own special kind of sunshine. We had a good visit that morning, talking about the neighborhood characters and the sites the Erlingers were planning to visit in Washington. They had come from Wisconsin to show Jeff this wonderful city. Every year after that, Jeff's mom and dad sent progress reports, how he was doing in school, what new personal tasks he had been able to accomplish. And when he was about 11, they wrote to say that Jeff had gotten a new electric wheelchair. Well, I had been thinking about showing a wheelchair on the neighborhood for some time. I wanted children who used such chairs to feel represented in our television community. And I wanted children who didn't use those chairs to come to view them as something acceptable and respectable. So I called and asked if the Erlingers would consider coming to Pittsburgh and having Jeff demonstrate his special chair right on the television program. They accepted the invitation, and when they came to the studio, it was a great reunion. 6 years had passed since we had been together. And after our original greetings, I asked our television director to forego any rehearsal and simply tape Jeff's visit. All I told Jeff was that I would like him to show the children how he was able to work his chair. And also, I'd like us to sing his favorite neighborhood song together. In his usual way, he said, "Sure." And pretty soon, we had started. I'd like you to see that time that we had together.
It's a very fancy machine, but you're the one who makes it go.
Right.
Did it take a long time to learn how?
No, not really. I had other wheelchairs, and that only took, my first electric wheelchair only took me about a day to learn how to use it.
Gee, that's wonderful. Jeff, your mom and dad must be really proud of you.
I'm sure they are.
Yeah. Well, I know I am. Now, can you tell my friends what it is that made you need this wheelchair?
Sure. Well, when I was about 7 months old, I had a tumor, and it broke the nerves to tell my hands and legs what to do.
I see.
And they tried to cut the tumor, but they couldn't get it, and I became handicapped. And I got a wheelchair when I was 4 years old.
That was your first one
Mm-hmm.
when you were 4.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, sort of.
You must have some mighty good doctors who've been taking care of
Uh-huh.
you. Can you tell me any of your doctors' names?
Yeah, I have a pediatrician, Dr. Hansen, who works in Madison St. Mary's Hospital, and Then at UW, I have the bone doctor is Dr. Green, who takes care of the bones, I guess, because he's a bone doctor. Anyway, I had surgery earlier this summer because I have pain in my stomach called autonomic dysreflexia, and I just...
What was that word?
Autonomic dysreflexia. I'm not exactly sure what it means.
But you sure can say it.
Yeah. Anyway, so I had a surgery done just recently to try and cut this sphincter because I'm holding my urine in. So, well, you have a lot of things going on when you're... This just shows you have a lot of things happen to you when you're handicapped, most of the time. And sometimes it happens when you're not handicapped.
Of course. But you're able to talk about those things.
Yeah.
So well, and help other people who might have the same kinds of things. Do you know that song that I sometimes sing called It's You I Like? I'd like to sing that to you and with you.
Okay, sure.
It's you I like. It's not the things you wear. It's not the way you do your hair. But it's you I like. The way you are right now. The way down deep inside you. Not the things that
hide you.
Not your fancy chair. That's just beside you. But it's you I like. Every part of you. Your skin, your eyes, your feelings, whether old or new. I hope that you'll remember, even when you're feeling blue, that it's you I like. It's you yourself. It's you. It's you I like. And it is you I like, Jeff.
Thanks.
And there must be times when you do feel blue. What do you do during those times?
Well, it depends.
Sometimes do you make up stories?
Yeah.
Or read?
Yeah.
Or play? I know that's the way I did when I was a little boy. Had all kinds of things that I would do.
Did it help?
It did help, yeah. Does it help you?
Yeah.
We have to all discover our own ways, don't we? Of doing things when we're feeling blue. I'm not feeling blue right now, though.
Me neither.
I'm so glad that you came today.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I hope you'll come back to visit again.
Okay.
Will you?
Yeah.
And will you give your mom and dad my best?
Sure.
Because they are sure great people.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Jeff. I'll watch you as you go. You know, I've always felt that that feelings that are mentionable are so much more manageable. And I think that's what we try to do with the neighborhood, is to help make feelings mentionable. Well, last year, Jeff graduated from high school, and now he's enrolled in an independent living dorm at a local college. He never ceases to inspire me. I feel I've been greatly blessed by many people I've been able to meet and come to know. Some of you are in this room. Sure, I've worked hard. You don't choose a job in communications
and expect not to work hard. But you can expect that you don't have to do it alone. To me, that's what communications is all about. Nobody should have to do it alone. And communications is communing in a community where people listen to themselves and others, where they try to understand what they've heard, and then respond to, with all the creativity and care that their life has allowed them to develop. I certainly wish you all well in all that you do, and thank you for your warm welcome today. King Friday the 13th is very particular. He likes to be greeted twice. How do you do, King Friday? How do you do, King Friday, when he appears? And so I ask your indulgence. Susan Stamberg has interviewed King Friday the 13th, and so she knows all this, and I'm sure that she knows how to greet him. But I would ask that you all know that. Thank goodness we don't have a monarchy here in this country. Do they know how to greet me? Well, just turn around and see King Friday. How do you do, King Friday? How do you do, King Friday? Yes, you obviously know the decorum, yes. It is a pleasure to be with you here. I have brushed with the bushes just before I came, and it was a delight to be with them. But I wanted to know if you knew that little ditty about rowing your boat down the stream. Do any of you know that? Would you please sing it for me? Yes. Row, row, down the stream. Could you? Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. So that's how they teach it to you here, I see. Well, we learned at the Kingly School, propel, propel, propel your craft gently down liquid solution. Ecstatically, 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 existence is but an illusion. Farewell, ladies and gentlemen, farewell. Guten Tag. This is the Shy Tiger, who was in the Moscow program. Daniel Stripe Tiger, do you know where he lives? He lives in a clock in the neighborhood of Make-Believe. And he is shy.
I don't think I could do it, Mr. Rogers.
Well, that's up to you. Would any of you like to give Daniel a whisper of hello or something like that? He might turn around for you.
Who is that?
They're friends.
Oh, hi. You surely have pleasant faces. But I want you to know that I have a new stripe today. I got it here in Washington. It's right behind this ear here. And it's very itchy. Don't you know your new stripes are awfully itchy? Well, would you give me a pretend scratch? Oh, that feels so much better. Thank you very much. It's such a treat to be with you, and I wish you well. Bye-bye. Oh, one other thing. I learned how to say, won't you be my neighbor when I was in Moscow, and they taught me to say, Budishli ti moy sashed. Is that right, Felicity? Thank you. See you later.
one little story about our owl puppet. When we first had our production meeting with the people at the television station in Moscow, all of the people from the Soviet Union were on one side of the table, and all of the Americans were on the other side of the table. It was very stiff. And I thought, what in the world can we do about this? And so something said, just reach into your puppet bag. And so I did, and I brought out Daniel and talked a little for Daniel. And the Soviets loved puppets so much that they were reaching across the table to ask for Daniel because they wanted to try him on and make him talk. And so, of course, he was the first to go across the table. Then I reached down and brought X the owl up. And X is this owl with the large beak. And I was shocked because his beak had been broken in transit, and I didn't know it, and it was just sort of hanging to the side. And they could see that I was shocked, and the director of the program asked me if I would hand him to him, and he took him out of the room. And he came back in about 20 minutes, and X's beak was perfectly restored, the exact color. Well, you can see you couldn't tell that there was a hairline fracture up there. And so I always thought that, well, we had a break then, and when we came back, you could not tell what side was which. I mean, there were Moscow people and Pittsburgh people on each side of the table. And so here's X the owl. How in the world are you all? Howdy. I'm so glad to see you. I've been flying around just looking for you. Somebody said, the press club. I thought, my goodness, what are you going to do there? What are you going to press? And I was looking for all kinds of barbells and things, and here you are. Well, it's a treat to be with you. And would you tell me how to say goodbye in German? How would you say that? Wiedersehen, auf Wiedersehen. Well, I say auf Wiedersehen to you, and auf Wiedersehen to you, and farewell to the rest of you folks. Bye-bye. You can tell I didn't expect an audience that had such a wide range in age today. But it really is a treat to be in touch with children. I'm afraid that some of them may not have wanted to hear all that we had for the adults. But I'm thinking about you. Are you okay? It's mighty nice to be close to your dad, though, isn't it? That in itself is very special. That's a good excuse for having lunch together. Yeah.
We have a number of questions today. In the make-believe part of your program, when several characters that you provide the voice for are singing together, how is this done if you are providing most of the voices?
Well, that's thanks to the magic of television. Was this a question from a child? Do you know? No, was it from you? Well, I'm interested to know because you make the one scene with using one voice, and then you go to a place that is able to dub voices one over the other, and then we have this whole group that sings together, sort of magically. Yeah. Do you do all the voices? I don't do them all. I do King Friday the 13th.
And Queen Sarah.
And X the Owl.
Yum Yum Henrietta Pussycat Meow.
And
Cornflake especially, who is the manager of the rocket factory. You know, we make rocking chairs. And call them Rock-Its. Yeah. And Lady Elaine Fairchild.
Of course, you know me, Toots. Yeah, I run the museum go-round.
And Daniel Tiger, and a few others.
but there are a couple other puppeteers who have some wonderful voices.
How does the land of make-believe work?
I'm sorry, I don't understand that question. Who was it who asked, how does the land of make-believe work? Yeah. How do you think it works? How do you make the buildings? Those are made in a carpentry shop. Some of the buildings are really big. And you know the trolley that goes in front of the castle and then comes into my room? Well, that trolley was made in Toronto, Canada. And it has its own gauge. The way most of make-believe is, it has its own gauge. That's a great question to ask. How do you build things? Are you interested in building things? Your grandfather is interested in building things? You're lucky to have a grandpa who's interested in building things. Wish my grandson had a grandpa who knew how to build things.
Mr. Rogers, is the model town during the opening sequence your own creation? And then a note, I love the Matchbox cars.
The model town was built by some people who work at our public television station, and they found a lot of little models. Can you tell me who asked that question? Oh, you did.
That was my favorite part of the show because I liked the Matchbox cars.
Oh, you did.
See which ones you had and see which ones I had.
And do you still collect them?
Yes, I have a big collection now.
You must. Well, that trolley, that little trolley that goes across, that, of course, was made especially for the program. But
Are those like model railroad buildings, the houses themselves, or those?
those were specially designed. Mm-hmm.
Cars are
Yes. In fact, our director was a great train buff, and so he adds all kinds of touches to it. I've never had so many nuts and bolts questions in my life about the neighborhood. I expected lofty things like the future of children's television and all of this. This is a delight.
Well, we have a number of those. In what ways have children changed in the last 35 years?
Well, the outsides of children's lives have changed a lot. They have so much to deal with that those of us who were born 60 years ago never thought we'd have to deal with. But the insides of children's lives haven't changed at all. Every child wants to be sure that he or she is lovable and capable of loving. Every child, just like every adult, wants to be respected for who he or she is. So the real child hasn't changed. I'm supposed to keep my answers brief, I was told, and that doesn't seem to be who I am, but I'll try.
How will the content and direction of Neighborhood change in the next 5 years?
How will?
The content and direction of Neighborhood.
We're working on all kinds of special weeks for the neighborhood. I don't think the direction will change much because we've had the same direction for 25 years, and that is the direction of trying to understand the needs of children and speaking as creatively as we know how to those needs. I think maybe I'll answer my own question. I'm very concerned about what children see on most of television. I think a lot of it is very scary. And I know a little boy who wasn't able to learn to read. And we discovered at the Family and Children's Center that he had seen his mother's boyfriend come in to their apartment and shoot his mother. And his mother became physically disabled from that day on. That little boy, from that day on, was not able to look carefully at anything. That tells me a lot about what it means to be able to have the basis of a learning to read. We talk a lot about literacy, but how much do we talk about how scared people are to be attentive to something that's on a printed page? We must give children experiences, and those of us in the mass media must do it through our medium, that are not scary. Every child will translate what he or she sees on television according to what the inner life story of that child is. A child who approaches a television program with an interior of rage will translate the rage on the television and how those people deal with it very personally. I wanted you to know about that child who couldn't read. It took a lot of intervention for that little boy to start to be able to look carefully enough to be able to learn even the alphabet.
What do you think of MTV, VH1, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and such, and their effect on children?
I must confess that I do not watch television very much at all. I haven't seen any of this that you're asking me, but I've heard from others that most of it is quite violent, this turtle business. And I don't think that, well, if it's 30 minutes long, and it's on commercial television, that means there's about 20 minutes of program time, I guess. I don't think that 18 minutes of violence and 2 minutes of resolution of that violence is the least bit helpful. Some people say anything that ends well is fine. I don't think that, because children aren't all that attentive to the whole program. That's all I can say about those.
In a world where children are influenced by so many bad things, drugs, violence, etc., how do you attempt to counter that influence?
I was at the Green Acres School yesterday morning, and a boy in the 8th grade asked me if we had ever dealt with drugs on the neighborhood. And I said, well, only in a way of talking with children about what was healthy to put in our mouths or in our bodies. And I said, how would you talk with younger children about such things as drugs? And he said, well, maybe one of the characters in the neighborhood of make-believe could take something that made him or her sick, and then you could deal with it that way. And I thought that was an excellent idea. I've gotten so many fine ideas from children. In fact, I wish that I wish I were able to talk just with the children here today. It's very difficult for me to think that they might be bored in the presence of somebody that they care about on television.
What role could television play in the effort to promote literacy?
Just what I said.
Do you see yourself as a father figure to children who need one?
Nobody could ever take the place of a live-in father. And children need both a male and a female in their developing years. Those of us who come into people's homes on television are a mighty poor substitute, but we can be a support to those who want to give such a figure to their children. There is all too little on television that presents to children something of substance and has an adult right there to interpret it for them. The children usually do not have the adult sitting beside them at home. So we must provide that for young children on television. I realize that there are very few people who will do that. But if we only knew that children need the adult ego to allow them to be able to see certain things in their lives and hear certain things in their lives. Children should never see a news program alone. Young children should never witness that kind of horrendous stuff without the presence of an adult. And if we're going to give children scary things on television, then there needs to be an adult to interpret it right there on the screen.
Before asking the last question, we have a certificate of appreciation from the club and a National Press Club mug.
Oh, great.
George Bush has been called a combination of Fred Rogers and John Wayne. Who is Fred Rogers a combination of?
I was warned about this question because you all think to yourself how tough that would be to answer yourself. Who are you a combination of? I mean, both sides of the spectrum. It's a really tough assignment. And I thought this morning about it, and I thought about a lot of people. But I think maybe it might be Albert Schweitzer and Arsenio Hall.